Ms. Wanda, come pray.
Just act like the camera's not there. You're on there.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Pastor could not be with us today, so he asked that I would come in his stead. I understand that we're talking about working in a hostile environment, and so we'll continue with that. However, he asked that I do a review of principles 1 through 7. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and then he'll go back to, he'll start back on number 8. This is a little different for me because, you know, those of you who know me and have been in a session that I've facilitated before know that I like to be interactive, so the camera is really killing me right now. But we're going to move forward and just do what we know. All right, so this is pretty much going to be a review based on some of my findings, some of the things that I've encountered in working within a hostile environment. We're going to talk about some of Bishop T.D. Jakes' thoughts and things that are in his book. And then I'd like for you guys to share as well. All right? So the first commandment, know that you are anointed for the job or the position that you're in. Bishop Jakes talks about looking at others and wishing that we had their position. The secretary looks at her boss and says, yeah, I wish that I had the corner office with the window. The backup singer says, when is it going to be my turn to be the lead? And just a multitude of different things. We tend to think about the if. And when we start thinking about what if I, you know, then we can become discontented with the job that we are in position to do. One of the scriptures that Pastor refers to a lot in some of his sermons is the one that talks about, I almost slipped when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Well, it's not even just the wicked all the time. When we look at others and we see how they're growing and they're being prosperous, you know, we have a tendency to stop and think, well, why couldn't that be me? Why aren't I in that position? And the thing that we have to understand is that we each have to walk and to perform in our own anointing. And that's why we're in the job. God has created us with gifts and talents. My gift and talent may not be yours, and yours may not be mine. But together, working together in a company or at a job, then we can fulfill the vision, or we can fulfill the purpose of why we're at that business. So if, just like in the Bible when he talks about the arms having its job and the legs, but all connected, then we're all there for one purpose. Your presence in the workplace could just be so that you're the light in a dark place, you know, and we have to be careful of that, and we have to be mindful of that as well, because a lot of times we think about, well, I should be farther ahead than I am, or, you know, I should be doing more. But God has us right where he wants us to be right now, because there is a purpose for us where we are right now. So before I move to the next point, does anyone want to share a thought or an idea with the group? Oh, you guys. Oh, no. All right, so this is just commandment 1, so we're going to warm up a little bit more. The second commandment is don't expect to be appreciated. Now, this one I think is especially hard for a lot of us. We feel like that when we do a good job, you know, we want to get that pat on the back, and then when we don't, then we can become disgruntled. and then we just say, well, nobody's recognizing me, so I'll just do whatever, or I'm not going to work to my full potential. So one of the things that I have learned over the years is just don't expect it.
Right.
I mean, if you just don't expect it and you don't get it, then you're going to be fine. If you don't expect it and you get the appreciation or the accolades, then that's fine as well. But does that mean that because we don't get the appreciation or the affirmation that we feel like we need, that we're not going to do our best? Okay. So everyone wants to be appreciated for the work that they do, but if affirmation is the only reason that you're doing the job that you do, you're never going to be satisfied.
Right.
You know, that's even, especially I think in ministry, for those of us who are in leadership and for those of us who work in ministry, you know, when we have a big event going on, let's just say Fan Fest, and people like Marchetta and Jermaine, who basically, you know, take on the responsibility of pulling Fan Fest off, and that if on that Sunday morning that of Fan Fest, you know, pastor doesn't get up and say, well, great job, Marchetta and Jermaine, for, you know, leading us through. I've never seen them to be upset. I would hope that they would not get upset. But there are people that would. There are people that would really get upset. Wanda.
And I have a problem. Some people's personality is just that one that they need to be fed. They need to have that pat on the back. And how do you deal with people that need that, that has an expectation when you know that that's not the ultimate goal of our work? So when you're working with people and they're constantly complaining about, yeah, I did this last week or last time, or they ain't gonna never say nothing about it, or you know it ain't gonna be, you know, how finding that way of dealing with people like that.
Well, from a manager's perspective, I think that knowing your employees and knowing what your employees need is key. And really trying to, if you know that you have an employee who does need that pat on the back. I mean, you may not pat them on the back for everything that they do, but, you know, just try to be conscious of that and, you know, and give them the pat on the back. If we're talking about a peer-to-peer, and so if Wanda and I have been working on a project together and our boss doesn't say, well, guys, really well done, and then I start complaining, I'm like, oh, well, I mean, he could have at least said thank you, or he could have said, you know, well done. So now Wanda's job is not to fall into that with me. She has to be my encourager. She has to be the person that says, well, yeah, but just remember, he may just be really busy. He probably hasn't thought about it. He's got a lot going on. I mean, you're not his only employee. We're not his only employees. So we have to encourage one another. We can't always look for our boss to be the one that encourages us or affirms us.
I just want to say, for me, I had to kind of, I think it was a matter of growing and becoming more mature, because I used to be one that felt like I really needed that encouragement. But as I started to grow and mature and start to really appreciate myself, I think it's all about, you know, appreciating yourself for who you are and for what you bring to the table, as opposed to just expecting someone else to always pat you on the back. But when you know somebody that's like that, then yeah, I think you should encourage them.
Right. And so that may be hard if you have 300 employees, but if you have 2 employees, then that should not be hard at all. You know? So just getting to know your employees, knowing who they are and knowing what their needs are, is really crucial. Bishop Jakes, he talks about in the book, when we desire affirmation at the workplace, we complain, we plan, and we scheme to get noticed. We start saying things like, well, if no one else is going to notice me, then I'm going to make sure that they know what I'm worth. Now, sometimes we can confuse self-confidence with egotism. Yeah. Okay. So it's good. Like, it's good to know who we are. It's good for us to know what our worth is. But when we move from being confident in who we are to being boastful, then that's where hostility can come in. Because now you're doing everything that you can. You're walking all over top of other people to be able to get noticed. And so now you're creating an environment where people don't want to work with you. People don't want to be on committees with you. And you're just making yourself a difficult person to work with. So ego, pride, and fear are things that deter us from doing our best job. We forget to know that God knows who we are and that He knows what we have to offer. One of my favorite scriptures has to do with working as unto the Lord. When you can keep that as the forefront of why you do anything that you do, then whether I pat you on the back, whether your coworker pats you on the back or not, it won't matter. You know, you're just going to be like, well, God knows, and He's going to elevate me, and He's going to promote me in my time. Because one thing that I've noticed over the years is that when we're trying to promote ourselves, then again, like I said, ego gets into the way, and then we may never get promoted because now we have an attitude. The boss is looking for people who have good working relationships with others. You know, promotion should not be self-promotion. And then, as the Bible teaches us, promotion comes from above. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't want to get promotions while we're here on earth. We do. But I'm just a firm believer that if we do our work as if Jesus was the boss, then, I mean, people are going to know. You're going to do it. You're going to do it with excellence. You're going to do it, and you're going to do it with a good attitude. And everybody's going to want to be on team event if I'm doing that. Okay? Yes, Chanel.
So how do you get people to realize that? Because you have some people that you do teach that, you know, everything comes from above. However, in the workplace, they feel like it should come from elsewhere. So how do you emphasize to them that, you know, where you are, let's just do what we do, and it will be noticed, but the ultimate goal is to know that even though you may not get what you want at that moment, it's going to come. You just have to be patient because it's not our time, it's His time.
Well, actually, I think you just answered your own question, that it is in God's timing and it's not in our timing. But then, as Sister DeBose said, it's about a level of maturity. You know, you have to be mature enough to understand and to realize what it means to work as unto the Lord. It means doing your best, putting your best foot forward, not complaining, not having a bad attitude. And then for some people, I think what happens is they get into a rut, and the only reason that they're doing the job is to be noticed. So we always have to figure out what is our motive for anything that we do. Okay, I don't know that you can. I think that people just have to come to the realization for themselves. I don't think that we can just keep telling people, well, just do your best, and it's going to come. Just do your. They have to believe it. It has to be something that resonates down within you. Okay.
And I think you said the motive.
The motive, exactly.
And then the thing that I had to learn also is that, you know, when we're in the workplace, we may be Christians and we may believe that what you said, do what we do unto the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But they're, you know, people that we're working around, they may not have those same beliefs or
Okay.
values. So we have to know just who we're working with and I just pray for them, because I used to get frustrated, you know, being around people that are complaining and this
Right.
and that. But I just had to learn and realize that, you know, everybody's on different levels, you know.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, as far as what you were saying about. I just lost my train of thought, but we're going to get to it, and you're going to remember what it was when I get to it. Okay, so the third commandment is embrace opportunities for change. Bishop Jake says that one of the greatest frictions in the workplace is change. Much of the friction is caused because of our expectations that things should go smoothly. Now, I think all of us are at least 20 years old or more. So I'm going to say that in our 20 years of growing, we've all experienced some type of change. Yes, change is continuous. Change is inevitable. Change is going to happen no matter, change is going to happen until Jesus comes.
Right.
Okay? And so what we have to do in order for us to deal with change is to adjust our own expectations of change. You know, we have to be more realistic, and we have to realize that nothing in life remains the same. I mean, could you just imagine you're sitting here now 20, 30, 40 years later in your 2-year-old body? Okay, so everything changes. But one thing that I've learned working here is, you know, from one moment to the next, I don't know what my assignment might be. I don't know what phone call. I can come to work some days and I have it mapped out. I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get here at 9. At 5 o'clock, I'm going to be punching the button because I'm leaving. And I can get one phone call, or there can be one conversation, and it can change the whole day. Mm-hmm. Now, for the most part, I can embrace change. I can roll with the best of them. You know, I can adjust. But sometimes I think we can just get so stubborn. We get so stuck that if somebody asks me, if Tamisha goes out to lunch, and now I gotta answer the phone. Well, now I got a bad attitude because I got to answer the phone. But I'm working on something else that I want to be working on. So, I mean, it's not even big changes. It's little things. And a lot of times it's really the little things that'll break us. So when I worked for Wachovia, we merged with First Union. So, you know, that was a big change. There was nothing I could do about it. So I embraced it. I worked with it and I did what I had to do. But to think about something so small as having to answer the phone because somebody has to go out and run an errand, that's so petty. But a lot of times, how we view the change is so petty.
It is.
You know, we're just making a big deal over nothing for the most part. So with change, expect it, embrace it, and excel in it. One thing about change is that you will never, ever be bored. You will never, ever be bored. I think that this is probably, working here at Victoria's Praise is probably the most exciting job that I've ever had. And I've had some great jobs. But just knowing every day when I come in that today is not going to be like yesterday, that's actually something to look forward to. You know, it is. It's pretty exciting. I could not imagine working in a factory where whatever comes down the line and I just go, and that's what I've done for the past 20 years. But there are people who are designed for that. And there are people who are anointed for that, and we need those people. I'm just not one of those people. So we just have to find that happy medium with change. And just knowing that God is our anchor and that He is our rock. And that no matter what comes and goes, no matter how the wind shifts and blows, you know, He's the constant. Now that's the thing that doesn't change.
Right.
God does not change. We can always count on Him, regardless of what's changing around us. Do the job well while remembering the vision. Now this I thought was good, because what Bishop Jake says here is that a lot of the times the greatest hostility in the workplace comes from within. It comes from not really understanding or knowing what your own personal vision is. So we go to a job and we want to change everything about the job. We want the job to fit us. You know, we want, again, we want everything to just move smoothly. We want everything to go according to our plan. And a lot of times it can't. So now we have what he calls double vision. So we're working with the vision of the company, but we're also trying to incorporate our own vision. When I worked at Wachovia, I was in the investments division. And within that division, I managed 21 people who worked with branches all throughout the state. And the one thing that I would always try, and so there were 4 others of us that were in supervisory positions, and they had their people that they managed as well. The thing that I always found interesting for me and how I was able to deal with things was I had to make it my own little business.
Yep.
So that I could function within what I saw as my vision for the group while still working towards some of my goals, but still working within the confinements of the company's vision. So remembering and not confusing our vision with the company's vision and then trying to change the company's vision. I see that a lot in ministry. You know, pastor says, well, this is what we're going to do. Well, I don't want to do that. Why can't we do it this way? Well, because you're not the visionary. God didn't give you the vision for this house. Okay? And we all do it. I do it. Sometimes he'll come to me and he say, well, darling, we're going to do Fan Fest this year, and we're going to bring in this one. And I'm just sitting there looking at him, and I'm saying, in my mind, so my lips are saying, yes, sir. Sure, of course. In my mind, I'm saying, we don't need to be doing this. We're trying to build a church. We got other things that I feel is more important. But God didn't give me the vision. God gave him the vision. And we have to be mindful of that, because a lot of times we can overstep our bounds by trying to step into someone else's shoes. Okay?
Also, I was talking earlier about getting frustrated with people because of their outlook, but I found that when we realize a lot of times that the people around us that might be feeding the negativity into the atmosphere is because of their vision, what they think or what they believe. And if we channel ourselves to focus on what the true vision or the goal is, then it'll help us a little bit better to say, okay, yes, my dear, yeah, but that's really just because she feels that way. It's not the fact. This is the true goal. Right. This is the truth. And so sometimes that other people's double vision can impact us, but if we learn that that's their vision and not the ultimate goal.
Right. Anyone else want to chime in? I think this is my favorite one. Don't let the environment get in you. So, oftentimes we can't change or control our environment. However, we can change how we perform within our environment. Then I would even go further to say that sometimes, yes, you can change your environment. Your environment, for me, my environment is my space. where I am at any particular moment in time. So when I'm at work, my environment is my office. Now, when you come into my office, the rules change. I can control what goes on in my office because I can close my door, or I could not let you in. We used to have a thing on our doors that said no kerfuffle, which means no drama. So when you enter these doors coming into my office, whatever drama you may have, I need you to check it at the door, and then you come on in and you talk to me about what you need. All right? Now, in instances where we can't control the environment, then we have to control how we adapt to the environment. And then you can affect how others act around you. I mean, I know a lot of times people can, and I see it happen a lot of times. So I'm talking to someone and they're just so upset that they just, they're just going off. But as soon as Pastor and First Lady show up, it's a totally different conversation.
Of course. Yes. Of course.
So they affect a different response from others than what we may affect. So that's why I say a lot of times we can sometimes cut down on some of the damage control when people are in our presence. Because people will do what we allow them to do in our presence. Okay? So if someone comes to me and they're venting and they're complaining and, now I'm the kind of person where I'm just going to be standing there, I'm going to be looking at you because I'm just like, really? Does it take all of that? It doesn't. It really doesn't. So a couple of reasons that we shouldn't let the environment get into us is because it creates negativity, it creates harmful behaviors, and it creates insidious gossip. I think that's probably like my favorite piece in here. One thing about gossip, and we can try to dress it up and make it seem like whatever we want to make it seem like. Well, I'm not gossiping, I'm just sharing. I'm not gossiping, I'm just venting about something that I heard. So we can dress it up. The thing that I don't understand about gossip, and gossip just kind of traveling and moving around, is I don't know about you, I have enough drama in my own life that I don't want to take on somebody else. Because now I got to think about my drama, I got to think about your drama, then I got to think about the person that you just told me about, and it's too much. Exactly. And then gossip can be harmful to others. Now, I'm not saying that I won't listen to gossip. I mean, I will. We all will.
That's normal. Yeah.
And that's normal, and that's human. However, do you have to repeat it to someone else?
Right.
One thing that I will say about me is if you're coming to me to gossip because you think I'm going to go and tell somebody else, I'm not even the person.
Right.
So if you think that if you tell me, well, Wanda gets on my nerves and she just makes me so sick that I'm going to go back and tell Wanda that you said that, I'm fine. Anything that you want Wanda to know about how she's treating you, go tell Wanda. Because I might add a little extra to it.
Right.
I might say something that didn't even cross your mind, but now when Wanda comes to you to confront you, the story is just all messed up. So gossip just makes it really hard for people to perform at the level in which you know that they can, or even the level that you know that you can. Yes.
So, gossip, Would you say that sometimes when people come to you, I'm just come to you and you like, Lord, and you listen. And I appreciate it. But sometimes it's not, do you feel like sometimes people just need to vent to get it off their chest to kind of calm them down versus I'm really, gossip is gossip, but sometimes we come to people just to kind of calm us down. Like, I'm frustrated, I need to get it out, and it's not that I'm meaning to talk about Miss Wanda, but she just done hit that nerve, and I just need someone to listen.
Well, for me, it depends on how you come to me with it. If you come to me and you say, Wanda just gets on my nerves, she just doesn't conform to what I need her to do, blah, 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 blah. Or if you come to me and you say, sometimes I just don't know how to deal with people. They get on my nerves, but you have not called one person's name.
Right.
So me being the person that's you coming to for encouragement, consolation, or whatever, then I don't know who you're talking about. So now I'm giving you an unbiased, objective view of how I think you should handle the situation. So to me, if you're coming to me and you're saying S say such and such and such and such, then I'm going to look at it different from you saying she. I don't need to know who the person is to help you. I'm just going to give you general counsel.
When you say she, don't go back to them talking, well, Mrs. Becker said that you should.
Right, because I don't even know who you're talking about. So I think just kind of how you approach it, to me, determines whether it's gossip or venting.
And my last thing was with the gossip and venting or whatever. I believe depending on who you're talking to will determine how you handle it, whether if I'm talking to you and I know that you're going to listen but really not give me any biased feedback, then that's going to kind of calm me. But if I'm talking to someone who's just going to side with me and keep the drama going,
Right.
then that's going to make me feel like, oh yeah, I want them. You know what I'm saying? So,
And we know who we can talk to get the kind of reaction that we want to get. You know,
Right.
I know that sometimes when I have my moments of venting, I go to certain people because I know that they understand that I'm just venting. You know, but then there are probably people, and it depends on the setting that you're saying things in.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know, if you're talking and you're what I call loud talking so that the person that you're talking about can hear you, but you're not man or woman enough to go to them and tell them, then that's immature. I think that pretty much everything leads back to being mature and common sense. Ms. Wanda?
Right, and I think this is the point about don't let the environment get in you, because gossip it determines when you say gossiping or venting. There's a difference in venting, because if you're just venting and not really affected by it, you're going to keep moving. You're going to keep doing what you're supposed to do. When you're gossiping and you get caught up in what's really being said and what's going on, and so it stops you, it changes your attitude, it changes your behavior, and so there is a difference. You can sort of tell, because if the person gets caught up in the situation with the people they're talking about or the atmosphere, then it's affecting them, and I think that that's when it turns from venting.
Okay. Ms. Wanda, number 2.
I'll be number 2. That's good for me. I think another way you can look at it, my personality, I'm an introvert. I was an extrovert through corporate, and now I'm an introvert. But the way I look at it, I vent to God, and that's my escape valve. So if I'm working from home and I'm having a difficult time, or just kind of struggling with something, or if I'm, interacting with a peer, a colleague, out, some social event, and I have a difficult time, I go back, and I know it might seem strange psychologically, but I go back and I vent to God. And I let him know, I was offended today. This is really bothering me, Lord. I need to lay this burden down to you. I need to give this to you. And I'm going to let you handle it. So I don't know if that will help anybody else. And you have to be so raw. You have to be so brutally, even to the point sometimes I come back and say, oh God, I'm sorry, I didn't reverence you. I didn't when I was speaking because I'm venting, and sometimes it gets a little, between the lines. But it's really cathartic. I mean, it really gets it out even before you go and encounter someone else. Just allow God to, hear you.
Right.
If that helps.
Yeah, that's great. Because one thing about talking to God, unless somebody else is in the room, nobody else will ever know what you said.
Well, I tend to vent to God and to the person. That's just my personality. I have no problems with telling someone I don't like what you did to me. I don't appreciate it. That's just how I grew up. My parents said nobody can change themselves but them. So don't go telling such and such, and such. Just go to that person. And so that's what I just tend to do. And sometimes my delivery, I have to wait. I've learned and grown to wait a little bit because sometimes what I want to get you, I want to check you where you are. That's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, okay, no, hey, I can't be that person anymore. I changed now. So I do wait now a little while and then try to do a different approach. But I still want you to not only know, but to feel how I felt when whatever happened.
Well, as long as you're going about it with a good attitude, I think then it can be well received if the other person is mature.
Yeah.
So now if you're working with a crazy, then just expect a different result. Okay. The main thing about not letting the environment around you get in you is that it can cause you to lose your witness. There have been many a times in my life that I have regretted something that I've done or said because I affected someone in a negative way. And you know that people are so easy to say or so quick to say, well, I thought she was a Christian.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes out of people's mouths. I thought she was a Christian. Christians don't do this. And, well, we shouldn't. However, we do. All right. The next one is increase your capacity to work with difficult people. Now, there are going to be difficult people wherever we go. We're going to encounter difficult people everywhere. Back in the early 2000s, I think, or maybe the late 90s, most churches were focusing on the prayer of Jabez. God, enlarge my territory. So you're asking God to enlarge your territory, and you're wondering why you keep running into all these difficult and crazy people. Well, as your territory enlarges, so do the amounts of people that you encounter. And there's probably going to be, I would dare to say, 1 in 10 people that you encounter will probably be someone that's going to be difficult or special or extra. So when God increases things within our life, then we have to increase things in our life, which means the capacity to deal with all kinds of people. I worked for an investment firm in D.C., and I had 3 brokers that I worked for. Back then, they called them sales assistants. I don't know what they call them now. But so I had 2 females and 1 male. So men are generally easy to get along with. Pretty much if you just do their work, then you're pretty good. Then I had this other lady who was very meticulous. She would, every day, she would send me, like, my assignment sheet for the day. And she would she was very thorough. And I liked that. I didn't have to guess about what she wanted. I could just look at her checklist, And at the end of the day, I go into our office, we sit down, we go through everything. Yes, I was able to complete this. This is the result. Then I had this one lady. It just seems like nothing that I did was right. Nothing that I did could satisfy her. But do you know that out of all of the brokers that I worked with over the 6-year period that I was there, that she is probably the one that I remember the most. Not because she was so difficult, but she challenged me. She made me get up every day and say, today is not going to be the day that she's going to complain about something. Today is going to be the day when, have you guys ever seen The Devil Wears Prada?
Yes.
That day when the girl went in and took her the book, she had her coffee and everything, and there was nothing that she could say. She was just so baffled that she just turned her seat around and just was just like, what can I say to this? And when I would have those moments with this lady, that would just be like the greatest thing. But she challenged me to be the best me that I could be. And she even told me that. She said, you know why I ride you so hard? Because I know that you have the potential to do this job better than what you're doing. So difficult people can be in our lives for all kinds of reasons. They can be there just to make us miserable. They can be there to challenge us to do our best and to excel. And I think the last one is, where you are now is not where you are going. I believe that where you are now is just in preparation for where you're going. So a couple of key things here is work now for where you go. Be all that you can be the best that you can be, and give it your all. So I'm going to end with this. In our executive committee meeting last month, Pastor asked us to write a poem. And the poem was to be titled, I Am From. So this is my poem. I am from the big city and bright lights of Harlem to the backwoods with cotton fields, where the corn grows tall and the tobacco is strong. I am from one of the poorest counties in the state to Washington, D.C., sitting at the table with movers and shakers and policy makers. I am from Northwest Halifax High to North Carolina A&T to Colorado Tech University, from diploma to bachelor's to master's degree. I am from Baptist to Kojic, where I have grown spiritually. I am from flipping burgers and dropping fries to running a multi-million-dollar company. This is me on my journey to greatness, final destination unknown.
You better
So I share that to show that we're always in a process, and that right now is not where we're always going to be. And that in order to get from A to Z, you have to encounter D, M, P, and Y. Life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. The workplace is just one stop on the journey. Anything else? Anybody else? Any questions? Viewers, do you have any questions? Do we have any viewers? Pastor, are you out there? All right. So if there is nothing else, then that concludes my portion. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to take the offering if you have one.
Oh, this out done. Well, we probably won't want to join, so we just submitted it on Thursday. So, yeah, we'll know.